Welcome, everyone. It is the OurTurf Football Podcast. I am your host, Dayna OG. Joining me this week, we have Lisa Johnson in that shirt that she has on. I'm just telling you. Oh, man. You guys could have been here a few years back when Michelle Jinks was on here with us. It was exhausting, the conversation about college football. I'm just letting you know. I love Michelle, but I don't miss that conversation. Joining me also is Kate R., also of OurTurf Football, who has a 10-win martini in her hands.
She does.
I'm so excited.
All across Cleveland, we're drinking 10-win martinis today.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I'm so excited. And you guys, this week there was a lot to be excited about for some fan bases. Obviously, for the Cleveland Browns, we get real excited that they hit double-digit wins. It's been a minute. How long has it been, Kate?
It's been a minute.
I don't know that we've had double-digit wins since we came back.
Wow.
I think 9 and 7 was our best year. It's been a long. Most of us can't think back from before 1 and 31. So
That's fair enough.
This is amazing.
I'm so excited for you. We're also very excited for the Buffalo Bills winning the division. 25 years it took them to win that division, and Tom Brady leaving and Bill Belichick rebuilding. That's what it took. But by God, I think they'll take it and run with it. It was very exciting. That fan base is one of my favorite fan bases in football anyway, and that was so fun to watch that reaction on Sunday. It was very, very fun. All right, but we are going to start out. Okay, Lisa wants to talk about the Jets first, so let's just start there, and then we're going to get into the Pro Bowl. We're going to talk into the playoffs. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff. But Lisa's a little worked up about the Jets winning a football game.
I don't know how I feel about this, but it's funny. It's because we talked about this last time on the podcast about how teams just don't want to tank, But I was kind of confident that they were going to pretty much tank and get the first pick, and even seeing Sam's tweet about he wants to be a Jet for life, everybody commented on that and felt bad for the guy, because it's like, you're not going to be the Jet for life because they're gonna tank for Trevor. Mm-hmm. And then comes Frank Gore, who would not have any part of being on a team that's not going to win a game.
God love him. Love him.
and pretty much, depending on, of course, he's still got a couple games to round out the season, but in the tiebreaker, pretty much, if it ended right now, the Jacksonville Jaguars are on the clock with the number 1 pick.
All right, to be fair, the Jets play my Browns this week, so they're not winning that one. But the Jaguars play the Chicago Bears, and we have seen some really bad football coming out of Chicago this year. The Jags may get a second win.
It's possible, but
they may get a second win.
I think that what that brings up then is, are the Jags going to be like, to pull those brakes back, because now if we get number 1. But I'm going to say this. I said this on Twitter. I got a little bit of flack for it, but I still truly believe it. Trevor is not going to save either one of those teams. Right. That quarterback is not going to fix an entirely broken team. It's going to take a lot more than that. And I wonder then if either one of those teams takes a look at that and says, yes, this kid is good, which I still don't. Has he even decided if he's going to declare still?
No,
I don't think he's heard that. I don't think we've actually
He has not decided.
Although it was brought up to me by a friend that, it's like, what else does he have left to play for?
Yeah, that's true. And that's what they say. I mean, it's almost like an 85% chance the kid's going to declare, because like you said, that's, and you don't pass up, but depending on, I know a lot of people say the Manning thing that day about, if you don't want to play for that team. These kids now, they just want to play. I mean, come on, seriously. I mean, if you're going to be the number 1 pick, I don't think it's going to matter which team's going to take you.
Right. But here's my thought by this. Let me know what you guys think about this. Would it be smarter for either one of those teams, the Jets or the Jaguars, to say, dingle, 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 here is my first or second round pick. I want 3 more picks down the line. What if they went to Miami, who has 1,000 picks, and says, what if you want the best, whatever position that isn't quarterback that you need? There's some options there, because those teams need a lot of help in a lot of different spots. The Jets, I think they know their problem is with coaching, not necessarily Sam Darnold. So then do you just say, no, we're going to get as many picks as we can for whichever new coach we pick? I don't know. I think there's a lot of options there that could make draft day kind of fun. which this draft day this year's gonna suck anyway because nobody's hardly seeing anyone play. So I don't even know how that's gonna work. But I don't know.
Well, the draft is in Cleveland, so I know you're all coming up for the draft. You're gonna stay at my house. We're gonna watch it here.
Okay.
As someone who roots for a team that didn't have a quarterback for a very long time, getting a quarterback is really important. But again, if you look at what Baker Mayfield's done this year versus last year, coaching is huge. Mm-hmm. If the Jets feel that Sam Darnold really is their future, they need to get the right coach. And if that happens, they take that number 1 or number 2 pick and they trade it for a whole bunch of other ones. Yep. They don't need Trevor as much as Jacksonville does. Cincinnati got Joe Burrow last year, and while it's only gotten them 2 wins because of his injury this year, they can now take a little time and build around him. Mm-hmm. Jacksonville's got nothing. They cannot pass up a quarterback like that and trade that pick for a bunch of other options. And I can see the Jets doing it if they believe with the right coaching that Darnold can be their guy.
Lisa's having a meltdown because
you do not pass up on a franchise quarterback. You don't. This kid.
How many times have those first round picks not?
I understand that, but this kid's at a different level. This kid, he has
sunshine.
He does.
Does his hair not grow?
You don't
Every
pass
time
up
I
on a
look at him,
franchise
his hair
quarterback.
is still right here, and I'm salty about all of that stuff because now my Buckeyes got hosed and they're number 3 no, they're not. They shouldn't have even been in the top 4 because we haven't played but 6 games all year. But I got to play Clemson for like the 50th year in a row. I don't even want to go. I don't know why they're letting me go. I didn't want to go.
Oh, Lord. This is what happens when you bring up college ball. This is what happens every time.
If Jacksonville picks number 1, then I completely agree with Lisa. They have to get their franchise quarterback.
I get that. Yeah, they've got
But
nothing
if it's the
there.
Jets, I agree with Dayna. They could turn that number 1 into 3, maybe 2 first rounds and a high second round. They'd have to consider doing that.
Yeah, but you have to understand, during that draft with Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Adam Gase, his least favorite quarterback out of all those quarterbacks that came out was Sam Darnold.
Yes, but Adam Gase is going to be there next year.
But Adam Gase took the job to coach Sam Darnold. And they will get rid of him before they will get rid of Darnold.
You don't pass up a franchise quarterback.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens because God knows during the draft, all bets are off because we never know what these teams are going to do. So, all right, well, let's move on. We're going to talk about the Pro Bowl. The selections just came out just a few minutes ago. We've been retweeting them like crazy. What was it? The Chiefs, the Ravens, the Packers, and the Seahawks all tied with having 7 Pro Bowlers each for the most in the league. There were just a handful, 4 teams, I guess it was, that didn't have any Pro Bowlers go at all. And so, this is pretty exciting, but not really, because what are they going to do? They're going to play video games for a week. Have you guys seen the format for the Pro Bowl this year? So it's going to be 100% virtual. Here, let me go ahead and read what it says this is going to be. So it says it's all about, EA, which does Madden, and we all know that. There's going to be a number of game number challenges. There's going to be like virtual all-star games. There's going to be head-to-head matchups, ranked and unranked. There's all this kind of crap going on.
I want to know where my royalty check is. Because for years, my idea for the Pro Bowl is I said it sucks that the people who are in the playoffs in the Super Bowl don't get to play in the Pro Bowl. They should have been doing it sponsored by EA. It should have been Madden football. You should have picked a captain for each team who would have picked his squad. They should have played their own men in the game. They could have put it on a screen. There is an entire market of people who watch TV shows about video games.
I know.
They would have loved this. I've been preaching this for at least 5 years. Where's my royalty check? This was my idea. I'm totally taking credit for this.
Hey, you lose. You didn't patent it.
I didn't.
You got to be faster.
There's probably an article in the OurTurf archives where I wrote out how this would work. I'm going to go look for it when we're done here.
It's interesting. I think this, I have been lucky enough to cover the Pro Bowl the last couple of years. I'm so pissed that I don't get to go this year with 7 Seahawks players there. Are you kidding me? Oh my God. So anyway, but COVID. And so we're in a new reality, but I do think it'll be interesting. I bet we have less players opt out. Every year there's a handful of players that opt out of it because they don't want to play. They don't want to get hurt. They just are ready to be over with football at that point. And so I think it'll be interesting to see how many don't do that. Maybe To be honest with you, so let's talk about the rosters for just a minute. So we have the rosters. We have, for the quarterbacks, we have Josh Allen from Buffalo, Patrick Mahomes from Kansas City, Deshaun Watson, obviously. And then we have Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, and Kyler Murray. You ladies see Aaron Rodgers playing video games when people Sorry.
Let's talk about the snub of Deshaun Watson over Ryan Tannehill for a second. Wow. I was stunned. I was shocked. Look at the numbers. Look at the
Texans have 4 wins. How is Deshaun Watson a quarterback in the Pro Bowl with 4 wins?
It's great
because it's a popularity contest.
Thank you.
There's lots of people who don't like Ryan Tannehill. So, look at it this way. Tom Brady's not in there. Tom Brady didn't get voted in. There's a lot of Drew Brees didn't get voted in. There was quite a few when it comes to quarterbacks. And I wonder too, if people are starting to go with what they think are the more fun quarterbacks, or maybe quarterbacks that actually would have played in it. I'm not sure, but the older guys are being looked over a little bit. Not that Tannehill is older in any way, shape, or form. I'm talking more Brees and Brady. But I do find that interesting that, it is often that the Pro Bowl has nothing to do with the numbers on the field. Let's be honest with it just a little bit. So, there's some interesting other, Travis Kelce, Darren Waller, Keenan Allen from the Chargers, who've been struggling all year. He's in there. Now, granted, I think sometimes there's respect votes too, don't you think? I mean, Keenan Allen deserves that respect. So I think that is pretty great. I'm looking in the NFC. We have Devontae Adams, Andre Hopkins, Justin Jefferson, DK Metcalf, Alvin Kamara, Aaron Jones. So you start to look at some of these, and they are the top guys in their position. So I think that it's interesting. I think that the switch in the Pro Bowl this year going to virtual will make it more interactive and viewer friendly. And I'm wondering if the viewership goes up because of that. Because, let's be honest, not very many people actually watch the Pro Bowl itself. And so I think that that'll be an interesting, and then that makes me wonder if they'll switch it to other things going forward, even without the COVID issue, to see how that viewership goes. So I don't know. Who's your favorite player that got picked for the Pro Bowl off your team, Kate?
On my team?
Yeah.
So the Pro Bowlers that we sent from my Browns are Myles Garrett, Nick Chubb, and Joel Bitonio. And I love the selection of Joel Bitonio because, to have one of the guys on the line go, for as much as that has been a key to this team playing well this year, and he's a veteran, so he's been around for a while. I love Myles and I love Nick Chubb, but the Bitonio selection was my favorite.
Awesome. What about you, Lisa?
I'd have to say, Xavier Howard was a lock. He's leading the league in interceptions. I felt the snub was Jason Sanders, our place kicker.
Okay.
He's had an outstanding season. A lot better than the Ravens kicker went Justin, I believe. Yes,
I just almost said Justin Tucker, and that's not right anymore.
No, that was a big snub there because Jason's had an outstanding season, so he should have been. But I'm just thrilled for Xavier Howard because he's been injured the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. This is the first year he's 100%, and he's balling.
And he looks it.
He does. Amazing. He's just playing lights out. So. It was nice to see.
I'm just aggravated that 7 Ravens went. I think it's ridiculous. 3 of those men don't deserve to be
there. I'm going to agree with Kate on that one. I agree with Kate on that.
7.
And I think that goes right back to what Dayna said. It's more popularity than anything on that.
When did Baltimore become a fan base that got out the vote? You know
True.
What I mean? That's usually New England. It's usually Cleveland. It's usually teams with these, passionate fan bases.
Cowboys.
The Chiefs.
Cowboys, Seahawks.
Yeah.
People whose fans really care about that kind of stuff. And it just, traditionally, it has not been Baltimore fan. So I don't know what that is, but 7 just seems...
Let me tell you this.
It's a little much.
The funny part about that is there's twofold. I'm going to tell you first who I'm most excited about in Seattle going. Seattle has 7 players going. I'm very excited for DK Metcalf to go because everyone loves watching him. But Nick Ballore, let me tell you, this guy, he campaigned like nobody's business for himself. It was so much fun.
I didn't even know who he was.
He's just the best. He superimposed his face on DK Metcalf's body so many times. He's out there freaking himself out. God love him. We're just all about it. So congratulations, Nick. We're very excited for you for sure. The other thing too, I think that people are home more, and they probably I would assume had voted more, but then you looked at the number totals and there weren't as many people who voted this year. So I do think that kind of impacted some of that a little bit. I think people just kind of were out of the loop a little bit more on this one. But
I think it was different people. I think the people who traditionally voted didn't, and people who didn't usually had nothing better to do because they've been home for months, and that's who voted.
That could be. Well, congratulations to everyone who made it. You know, it's interesting. We kind of just said the Pro Bowl is a popularity contest, but it does mean a lot to these players, and getting that and being able to put that in their resume that they made the Pro Bowl, you know, so many years in a row or whatever it is, that's important to them. I'm just
well, and there's money involved. A lot of these teams have incentives in their contract, and if you get voted into the Pro Bowl, that's a paycheck.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just sad I don't get to go this year. So anyway, next year I'll be back, I promise. But all right, so now let's move on just a little bit. We're going to talk about let's go ahead and talk about, what did we decide we're going to talk about next? I can't remember now.
GMs and coaches.
GMs and coaches. That's right. All right.
Apparently there's lots of openings. Lots of job openings.
A lot of job, and more every day. It's amazing how that works. Black Monday will be very interesting this year, I think.
Time.
But I found it interesting. You know, the Texans seem to be the team that they hired a firm. They're out there. They're trying to get, you know, people to, you know, come and work for them. And Lisa, they decided to go a little old school in the Detroit Lion way today. That was exciting to me.
Yes. But basically, when you look at the Lions, I've heard, you know, Rick Smith, I've heard, and then the name that just killed me was Jeff Ireland. Just, you know, I just, some of these guys that just kind of, it's, you come out, and even Dorsey. John Dorsey from the Browns is flying around.
Well, he did well with the Chiefs for a while, so I can see why his name is respected.
And Bill Polian's name's back in there. You know, apparently there's a lot of names that are floating around there. One thing I just want to talk to you guys about real quick is I got into some interesting conversations about coaches to GMs. Now, I'm going to put y'all in the hot seat. You own these teams. You're an owner. Wouldn't you say you put a GM in place first before a head coach? Does it not look? It looks like these teams are going in the direction to put a GM in place before they start going with coaches. Even though I know that, you know, Jim Caldwell did get interviewed.
That's what I was hinting to. I was very excited about Jim Caldwell.
Yes, today. And Jim Caldwell's going back making the rounds. You know, but you've got to think Eric Bieniemy is going to be a head coach somewhere. He's got to. Honestly, I mean,
I was really excited about him until I looked into his past a little bit, and Chiefs fans can eat me up all you want. You need to go look into his past a little bit. I'm not so sure that a team is going to take a pass on him. He has a little bit of an issue in the background. He's a great position coach. I'm not saying he's not a good coach. I'm just saying with the world we're in right now, I don't know.
Well, Deshaun Watson is campaigning heavily for Bieniemy in the Texans world. But the Texans, like you said, they hired that firm. You know, and they're relying a lot on that firm to bring in a GM and a head coach.
Yeah.
So
I'm not sure. At least that's a really good question. Do you hire a GM first or a coach first? I think that this is tough because if you need both, you've got to get your coach rolling on the draft stuff coming up, right? Like you've got to get that in and get it moving a little bit. But at the same time, if you're looking to revamp your whole team, you have to have that GM. And there's some GMs who are going to want to get in place before a coach because they want to help pick that coach. So,
well, see, and that's what I was thinking. Is I'm thinking down here in Miami with Greer. I mean, he led our head coach search. He was all in on Flores, and you know, and I think to me, it's when you're a GM, you have to gel with your coach. You have to be on the same page. You have to want the same things. You know, of course, the end goal is the Super Bowl. But there's a lot of GMs that think there's different ways. Build through the draft. There's other GMs that win now. Let's, you know, bring in free agents. Let's build around this player. So, you know, I was reading a lot about that discussion today about which one do you bring in first.
Kate, what do you think?
Well, as someone whose favorite team has hired a lot of coaches and GMs in recent years, the current situation we have right now seems to be working. We hired Kevin Stefanski 2 weeks before we hired Andrew Berry as our GM. And there was a lot of conversation going on in Cleveland when they hired Stefanski of, it's a rookie head coach. You can't give him, all the authority of player personnel decisions that you can give someone with more experience. How do you hire him before you have a GM? It was a whole chicken and the egg thing. And when they brought Andrew Berry in, who had been in Cleveland before in a different thing, it seemed to make sense. But Stefanski was part of the interviews that Jimmy Haslam had with Andrew Berry. The owner had very specific ideas for how he wanted the team built and what he wanted the team to do on the field, if that makes sense, what he wanted their identity to be. And so he found a coach and a GM that both would foster his vision of what he wanted the team to be. And luckily they worked really well together, which is evidenced by 10 wins. Because we've had some good, I loved John Dorsey when he was here, but the decision, to keep Freddie Kitchens after his stint as interim to make him the full-time head coach is just what did him in, because Dorsey went to bat for him and it was a bad call and it didn't work. Right. So whichever order you do it in, the three, the owner, the GM, and the head coach have to be on the exact same page as far as what you want the identity of the team to be. Are you going to be running? Are you going to be passing? Are you going to be heavy defense? Are you going to build through the draft? Do you have, the Browns were in a unique position where they had draft picks and we didn't have anybody that had been on this team for, in the NFL for more than 3 years. So they had plenty of cap space. So it was there were a lot of options on building it. When you look at the Panthers or the Lions or some of these teams that are going to have to do this, salary cap space is going to be a problem. They're going to have to find someone who's willing, who's going to grow that team through the draft, because that's going to be the cheapest way to get talent on quick. And so draft picks are going to be really important. So I don't know that it matters which one you do first, but the owner has to have a clear vision of what he wants and find two people that are both on the same page with that. They have to be able to work together.
That's an interesting point. It depends on how strong of an owner you have. We have some owners that sit back and let the GMs run the whole team and not be too involved. And then you have owners who are very involved. So that's actually a really good point. Lisa, do you think this is the year that Louis Riddick gets his GM job?
God, if I could just hear that guy on Monday Night Football, I'd have a better understanding. I swear, I think I'm the only one in the world that just can't hear that guy. He's just a very soft-spoken guy. And it's just kind of hard with him and Greasy. They sound similar, and I'm trying, So, yeah, I think it is. I think that when you look at Louis, and as far as experience and listening to him talk, this is a guy that's played in the league. This is a guy that seems like he gets it on how to build a team. And like I said, if you're an owner, it's hard for me because I guess as football fans too, if you owned a team, I'd want to be involved. I wouldn't hire. I'd lean on some other people to do it. But I don't know, Dayna. I would say no. I don't think he will end up this year. A couple more years maybe, but I don't think. I think they'll bring him in, talk to him, but I don't think
he's pretty well respected throughout the league. So, and he keeps getting these hints. So we'll see what happens.
All right, Dayna. Question for you.
I'm ready.
Are there any women that are going to get interviews for a GM job this year?
No. I think, I love that baseball has made that jump. I love that the NBA is light years ahead of the NFL in this. You have to remember how much we just celebrated having assistant coaches.
Right.
I know.
It's going to be a while, and it's heartbreaking. Yeah.
I saw a female ref in the game the other night, and I was so excited. I'm like, oh, there's another girl on the field.
Yeah, that wasn't there. I did see that. Yeah. I think that we're getting there. That will be the last nut that's cracked, because that's a horrible analogy, I guess, in this situation. But I'm just like,
I just got that.
Sorry. But it's
all right, last question, and then I'll shut up again.
Okay.
Tony Dungy, is he ever going to come out of the booth and go be a GM for somebody? Because I think he's done coaching, but I think he would make an amazing general manager.
No. I think Tony's happy being an advisor.
Yeah. I don't know that I see that either. I would never say never. I would never say never on that one, but I don't think that that's probably going to happen.
Okay.
So. All right, you guys, let's talk playoffs, shall we? It'll be good. Let's talk the playoffs. Okay, so there are 3 teams in the AFC, 3 teams in the NFC that have clinched the playoff spot. The Chiefs, the Steelers, and the Bills in the AFC, and we have the Packers, the Saints, and the Seahawks in the NFC have all clinched their playoff spot. Now, there's quite a few that are still in the hunt, obviously, including the entire NFC East, right? Because they're all 5-9, all of them. Like, well, I guess now Washington is 6-8, But, you know, I think that it's because they're in the lead. But I think that is is that just the craziest thing to say, that they're going to be the crazy division come down to the end of all this? Oh my goodness, don't even get me started. Okay, so if the playoffs were to start today, right now, we would have the Chiefs and the Packers would get their bye, the 1 bye week. Remember that the rules have changed this year, so that's the one. Then we would have in the AFC, we would have the 7th seed Dolphins playing the 2nd seed Steelers, the 6th seed Colts playing the 3rd seed Bills, the 5th seed Browns playing the 4th seed Titans. Now let's start with the AFC, and then we'll get to the NFC in just a minute. Of those groupings, I'm going to get so much crap for this, and I am so sorry, Joey Bag of Donuts. But I see the one upset that I see happening there is the Dolphins and the Steelers. And that's not because Lisa is my friend and she is on here. It is because I think those teams are going in opposite directions. Lisa, what do you think about that?
Absolutely. I think we would take the Steelers.
Yeah.
The way our defense is playing and the way Ben's played the last couple games, they're just not the Steelers that we saw week 1, 2, and 3. Now, remember, I did say Steelers had a weak schedule. They honestly really did. Mm-hmm. So, and when we got into these later November, December games and they're a little bit meat of the schedule, it's starting to show. So, and when you have a team like the Dolphins who, you know, every game with this Dolphin team is a win, regardless of whether they actually win the game, because every game you're seeing them progress to another level, every single game. You see even in the Chiefs game. I mean, they hung with the Chiefs. They and Flores has always said that just give yourself they really did. And it's a learning every single week. This team is learning, and that would be my game that you would see the upset on too as well.
That one would be the most interesting to me. So now, Kate, the Browns and the Titans, that one I don't really see. I know it's 5 and 4. To me, those are pretty equal teams. I think, in my opinion, that would come down to who was hot on the day, because both teams have so many strengths going for them right now.
Agreed. But we beat the Titans when we played them a couple weeks ago. We got very lucky, and my defense actually showed up. They have not always shown up this year. I've had plenty of offense, not always plenty of defense. It's going to be about who stops the run. If we can stop Derrick Henry, or if they can stop Nick Chubb. The problem is we've also got Kareem Hunt. We've also got, people we can throw to. And I think Tennessee relies too much on Henry. And unless my defense stops him, they will run all over us and control the clock. So that one, you're right, is going to come down to just whose run defense shows up. And it may even be one of those back and forth games that comes down to whoever has the ball last.
That'd be fun.
That would be a fun game. I think that'd be one of my more favorite games to watch, because I do believe the Titans are a very good team, and I think the Browns are a very good hot team. And so I think that will be the fun game. And who handles that pressure? When you look at the Bills and the Colts, and granted, this is just if it happens today. We still have 2 weeks to go. These are going to take up and move out, but a little bit. But even if you look at the Bills and the Colts, the Bills, they are on a different level right now. I would even say they're on a different level. The Chiefs, after watching that game the Bills played this last week, had better be nervous about playing Buffalo again. So I think that would be interesting. I don't think the Colts could handle what the Bills would bring to them. No. All right, so let's look at the NFC. Obviously, first round bye for the Packers right now. This is the side that's going to shake up the most. The NFC is the playoffs that is going to get all moved around. Everything is going to rely on whether or not the Saints win the next couple of days, whether or not the Bears decide to throw a curveball in the whole thing and beat the Packers, because that knocks them out of the first seed. There's so many scenarios in this team. The Seahawks right now are in the NFC West number 1, but they lose to the Rams next week. Then the Rams would be number 1. But then if the Rams lose to the Cardinals, then Seattle's back number 1. It's crazy in the NFC West right now. But as it is right now, as of today, the 7th seed Cardinals would play the 2nd seed Saints. The Buccaneers and the 6th seed would play the Seahawks in Seattle. The 5th seed Rams would play Washington in the 4th seed. This one, first of all, you guys know I have to do this. 3 NFC West teams. I have been saying it all year long. It's the hardest division in football. It's the most competitive division in football. I don't think there's any question about that. But at the same time, it's hard to talk about these matchups because this is not how it's going to fold out in the end. There's going to be one weird game. I don't remember which one of you said the Bears hadn't been playing very well, but there's a lot of people who are talking about that the Bears could really want to play spoiler for those Packers. Kate, do you think that they could pull that off?
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
I think lately, right? Like, that's weird. Sorry.
Yeah, I think emotionally they could get up for that. They've got to find something to play for. They've got to figure out what they're doing for next year and what they want them, what they want to be. Do they want to look at themselves in the mirror during the offseason kind of a thing? And taking out the Packers and messing up their bye week and all that kind of stuff is exactly the kind of thing that they would round their season on.
Yeah, I completely agree. Lisa, it is crazy how literally there is no predicting what the NFC is going to do when it comes down to these matchups, because it's all literally, for almost every single team, hinged on one game. There is still a not too far-fetched scenario that Seattle could end up with the first seed. In the same term, the Rams. I mean, that's how crazy.
Who lost the Jets.
Yeah. Who lost to the Jets. Yes, they did. But, I think that it's going to be fun. And while the AFC, I've said, is the stronger division this year, which has not been true in the past necessarily, I think that the NFC is going to be, it's going to be crazy to see how this all turns out. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So.
It really is.
All right, you guys. Well, that is our show for this week. I want to thank everyone for joining us. We will be back again next week to talk more about how this has all played out some more. So make sure, give us a thumbs up, give us a subscribe and of course, always check us out at OurTurfFB.com. Good night, everybody.
Night, everybody.
Good night.